Exactly. That's the tricky part of it, where people are like, well, GDPR, it's the UK, it's the EU, it doesn't affect me. If you have people coming to your website who are from those places, it does impact you. The laws aren't there to protect the business owners. These laws, privacy regulation, anything related to data, anything related to e-commerce in general, really, including collecting monies and things like that, you are adhering to the customer, the client, the consumer, the visitor. These people are the people who these laws are protecting, not you. So even if you're located in the United States, that doesn't mean that you only have to adhere to the laws of the United States or of your state. You do have to respect the laws of where the people are coming from, which means like that's a whole lot of legislation that you're supposed to know from the top of your head. Well, not necessarily, and most of the laws have more in common than they are different, which is nice, but it's also just common sense. When you start reading through some of the stuff, it's really about, I say common sense, it's not really common sense, it's more like, let's act like proper, nice human beings who treat each other respectfully online.
Yeah, especially when GDPR first rolled out. So for those of you who aren't familiar, sorry, GDPR is the General Data Protection Regulation. It is a law that went into effect in the UK, or I'm sorry, in the EU in like 2019, I believe. I'm like looking it up right now. Oh no, it went into effect on May 25th, 2018. And basically, what it is trying to find ways that these any sort of tool, not just marketing tools, but any sort of online tool that collects data does not violate your privacy concerns. And it is in effect in the EU, but it, it if you are collecting any information from people in the EU, it is applicable to you. So when GDPR was in the process of being rolled out a couple years ago, people were really starting to freak out about email collection, because part of this legislation is if you're collecting email, you need to tell people what you're going to do with that email. You can't just say, hey, I'm going to give you this guide, but then I'm also going to send you an email 3 times a day for the rest of your life and sell your email to a bunch of different places. You have to give them the opportunity to consent or to opt out of whatever options you have in your email marketing. And people really freaked out about it at the time because they had to change a lot of things and they got really upset about that. And there were a lot of workarounds at the time around like, well, let's just filter out the IPs of the people coming from the EU so that we can then, make these specific regulations for them, but we can keep doing what we're doing for everyone else. And in a lot of ways, like, that's problematic because it's like, well, why are we giving better, more respectful marketing to people just based on their location? Like, so my approach to GDPR and what I tell a lot of my clients is like, let's just do the respectful thing across the board instead of only doing it for the people that we legally have to. And I think that the same is true for some of the new ways that this legislation is impacting collection of data, which is beyond just what's your email address and then how am I going to follow up with you and how do I make sure that you can unsubscribe from everything, but what's all the information I'm collecting from you? Those credit card pieces of information, your name, your phone, like you might be putting that information into a form and then Google's just stocking it away in their servers somewhere forever. And you might have access to that information. You might not, but you have illegally collected it. Right? Like there's something really troubling about that.
There's what was interesting too is when GDPR started being enforced, it was very much focused on email at first, and everyone, like I said, was very Chicken Little. The sky is falling. All our businesses are going to be ruined. This is anti-business. It's not anti-business. It's pro-consumer. And also, what I think is really interesting about this privacy legislation that you're seeing, it's like it's catching on. It's not just GDPR, although that's sort of the big gun out there. CCPA was protecting for California, and you're going to see more and more legislation like this coming out. But you also have to be able to tell people how you got their information, how you collected their information. As a consumer, I like that. How did you get my information? And they have to tell you. You have depending on where you are, you have the right to ask people where to remove all the information that they have about you. Again, that's something that I like as a consumer. And too often, I think we think so much in terms of as marketers instead of just thinking of, well, what would this be like for me as a consumer? People being upset about, oh, well, I have to include my address on all of my emails. Well, yes, if you're a business, I think that's not an unreasonable request that you would have an actual address where I can contact you.